what's SKT's coaching staff right now?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Zephyr,
Former above that.
Zephyr
I can
and
agree
Fly.
with Zephyr.
Zephyr and Fly are the only two coaching staff, and Goma as head coach. But Goma has been more of a he's been more and more distant from it. But it's almost literally just Zephyr and Fly. TL has Kane, TL has Dodo, TL has Cave, and they have analysts below Cave. Like Western teams have had analysts for such a fucking long time, and they developed like how to make an analyst useful, where Korean teams had coaches. I don't think Korean coaches are that great. I think more and more so Korean coaches have been getting worse and been stagnant. I think Korean coaches are great leaders, and I think Korean coaches give team good direction, and they're very good about getting the team on the same page. But the direction they've been pushing the teams in have been pretty fucking bad. So I'll go on a little bit of a rant on why I'm so fucking disappointed with Korea and why I'm kind of
here we go.
sick of what's happening internationally. Individual talent-wise, I think Korea is still one of the best, or the best, like in terms of individual talent. I think the only region that can match Korea for individual talent is LPL. So if our region has individual talent, then why are we failing? It's because the direction of the teams are so fucking shit, and the direction of the meta.
Talk that shit.
And the
Sorry,
direction.
I'm typing it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep going.
And the direction that we're pushing the meta is so bad.
go on.
It's fucking god awful. All of 2018 was awful, and 2019 is also awful. Like, I don't know why we're still fucking in this like team fight meta. Like, we're in this like 80 carry oriented team fight meta still with some of the strongest solo lanes in the world. It's fucking crazy. And here's
Y'all know what solo lane is at?
here's the biggest fucking problem. NA can have its excuse of we're just isolated in our region, like in our region, Team Liquid like dominates and Team Liquid does well. Team Liquid isn't challenged by other teams.
Liquid Dominate at Liquid Dominate on Twitter. Whatever, keep going.
Korea has LPL that they can easily scrim and learn from. LPL's been setting the meta the right way, or at least in the right direction, maybe not the most correct way, but when you have LPL as an easy scrim partner that's so readily available, why are we going back to this teamfight meta over and over again? And it's not faker, it's not individual player saying I want to play this teamfight meta. It's the coaches that determine. So we have the individual talent and we have practice partners that can set us towards the right kind of meta. But again and again, Korea is failing internationally. I think the general direction Korean coaching staff has is fucking garbage. And I mean, what's the excuse now? It's been a year and a half of international failures. Like, what is the excuse for Korea? It's so fucking dumb that we can't perform internationally. It is ludicrous that Korea can't perform internationally. And I think a lot of the blame falls onto the leadership. I know this started out with the Koreans don't have analysts. Like, that's another topic, like where coaching is just like very simplistically done and not very structured. But Korean coaches and the direction that we've been taking has been god awful.
I'm going to caveat one point about, and I'll just talk about the preparation aspect of it, which is like, when you come into preparation, I'm going to specifically talk about an SKT perspective. When SKT goes up against like teams like Team Liquid, I won't say G2 because I think G2 is a better squad, even if it's like that's just an easy point to make. But when they go up against, when you're saying like an Eastern team goes up against a North American team, who's the favored one? It's the Eastern team. It's
Easily.
Yeah, 100%. So who's the onus of preparation is on? Like, as the Eastern teams does not have the ownership of preparation. All they got to do is play their game as best as they possibly can. Like, the preparation they have to do is the simple one in terms of what's their drafting style? Is there anything that they do that's interesting? Maybe look at their first 5 minutes. What are they most known for? But like, if you're looking at the Western teams, specifically like the North American teams, what do they have to do? They have to know this team inside and out if they have a chance to be able to topple them. So I'm just talking about it in the idea of like preparation. They need to have better preparation if they want to have them. And so that's what they all in on is like specifically like, hey, we can't just go out and play our style. Like, while that is 100% something we need to be able to do because we're comfortable with it. Like, we need to add in that extra bit of like 1000% of preparation. So I'm not going to come out and say that that the Eastern teams don't have this like, are like shit in terms of preparation. I think they put in as much prep as they need to, and they're just getting, slipped up on it. Like the earlier point about like how the game is, and on top of that, like, teams right now are forming super teams. Like, while like we're talking about regions once again, G2 is just a better team than SKT. So like now you have to have, if you're SKT, you have to prepare versus G2's picks and their play style. And now ownership is on SKT to prepare in that matchup. So I would love to see if that matchup happens once again at Worlds, SKT versus G2, the level of preparation SKT puts in that one. Because finally, the first time in a very long ass time, the Eastern team will have to put in a lot of preparation how G2 plays. So like that's my caveat on it. I don't think that they have worse preparation because like they're just bad at it. It's just literally
name me a
house
Korean
been.
analyst. Name me an analyst that
No, I
works
can't
for
do
a
that.
Korean team.
That's why I'm just talking about preparation. I don't know shit about
They don't
Korean
prep.
infrastructure.
They don't prep properly. That's the problem. Like even if you're the team that's favored, even if you are the lion in this case, like you still need to prep. And
I'll give you another angle though, Loco, which is I also think Korea does way too much groupthink. Like you look at any of those comments, like think about why they chastised us for all picking Griffin to win that final. They were like, but every coach and player in Korea all knew that Griffin would lose the final. It's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? What? Like, just make the point from one person. Why would everyone saying it make it more correct? It doesn't work that way. So if you look during MSI, there was all these translated things about Cloud Templar and people talking and Koreans giving their thoughts. And the problem is they all still think you can find like the ultimate way to play the game. And so if they think they have the right way to play the game, they're not going to change until they lose, are they? They think they've got the correct way. They've cracked it. Mm-hmm. Whereas actually, like, that's not the world we live in right now. Like, right now, that's why I was asking you. I actually think a lot of how the game's played now, like right this moment, you sort of have to like be willing to not think you can control the match. Like you can't control this game because no one knows what's going to happen in these skirmishes. No one knows what's going to happen if you have some like mad scenario where they're pushing the base here, but every fight here, it's not like the old days where it was so slow you could sort of like track what you were doing.
Well, my question to you guys is if Koreans
By the way, if he puts his hand up like that, he's actually like playing.
Okay.
When he does that, like he's waiting to ask a question. Give me this.
No. Well, my question to you guys is if arguably Korea has one of the best international player pools or best players individually, like, and good practice partners in LPL, like, then why is it failing if not for coaching direction? Like, where is the failure of Korea coming from? We have the players, we have the practice partners, we have the history of success, we have the infrastructure. Then why are we failing? Why is Korea failing?
There's a lot of angles you can go with it. I'll give you one right immediately that I noticed at this MSI actually is it's one thing, right? If you go to like last year's Worlds where all those teams like Cloud9 and Vitality were like, wow, maybe we can upset this really good team. Like we could do it. We could beat the Asian teams, guys. That's cool, you know, when you actually think you could do an upset. But dude, we live in a different world after the G2 SK Telecom semi-final. Because if you go and watch the comms, they just got released for G2 when they were playing in some of these matches, right? Dude, they're like laughing when it's the draft for Game 5. When they like when we had Caps there and he told that mad story about how in Game 3 against SK Telecom, they basically told Grabs like, yeah, you can let them have Silas because we'll just counter it. And then later on they were like, right, so what do you want then? And they was like, shit, yeah, don't know actually. Like if you were the coach there, you'd be like, what the fuck? This is my team, like it's my whole career right here. But what's mad is they had like a levity about them that I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. No teams that were Western teams have ever felt like that against a top Korean team. If you're playing Game 5 against SK Telecom and it's Faker on the other side and all these mega superstar names, at the very minimum, you're going to be like a little bit intimidated. You might even be straight up shook. Like I bet if you went back and you saw those Misfits games or some of the times people came close to beating them, you still have like ultimate respect for them in that game. You hope you can win, but you still fear them. Like we live in a different world now, dude. Like these top European players, they're not scared to play against SK Telecom. So even though that doesn't make you win the game, like that aura definitely helps. It helps you like steal an extra game when you should have lost, or you know the other person's not quite as proactive as he should. It helps, I think.
And that's a good point in the SKT versus G2 matchup, but that doesn't answer the whole question of why Korea is failing as a whole internationally.
That was just one reason. Yeah, come on, Graz.
Yeah, I have two layers of answers once again. The first one for me is like going back to the simplicity of the game once again. Like in the past, you're going up against like what seems like a machine, a beast, an infrastructure where you have to go up against the team rather than the player. Now you're going up against the individual. Like if we're talking about specifically the draft, you know you're going to be going up against a one-on-one. And if you're confident in your play, like Caps has just been smurfing in domestically, why would he be afraid of like a positive matchup? He can just turn the lights off, like turn the nameplates off and recognize that he should have like advantage at certain levels. And that's why what I love right now is that when I say it's a player's game, a player's sport, then it's not so much about the infrastructure, the coach, what the coach is telling you. It's more so like how much the player recognizes his own matchup, like what he can do with that level of push or where he can go with that. I think G2 is understand that, and they're incredibly creative around that. So I'm just talking about the idea of the game now is so much around the laning phase, the matchup, the pick ban, and once you get into mid game and late game, of course, there's a whole lot of like coordination that needs to be involved on that one. But I think right now you're seeing, and it's not just like MSI, but if you're talking about Worlds as well, when teams went up against Gen G and they were a slow ass team, they were just based around team fighting. They didn't have to care about the early game. What the hell? You can't play defensively in this meta. And so if you're Cloud9 coming into this one, you can be like, okay, all we have to do is like get Jensen ahead. We have full confidence that he is like much better than Crown, or at times they didn't even have to give him that level of resources or control wars because he was just getting 1v1 kills. So like the game is now focused on the individual player's skill so much more than it was about the overall the planning, pre-planning, level 1, and just understanding what like the team strategy is going to be coming into the series. And then if we're just talking about like Korea's overall destruction, it's not that bad, man. It's like you guys are now with us all. You're still with us now. Good. Exactly. It's still pretty damn all right. You know, like SKT is now still seen for me as the third, if not second best team.
They could have won this tournament. They could have beat G2.
Exactly. And that could have been the finals. It really just depends on how SKT, because another one I would have loved to have seen is SKT versus IG in that one. Because SKT was far more consistent. Clid was the MVP of the tournament. And Faker, even he was in my top 5 of the group stages because he was super consistent. And in an entire a tournament where people are going wild, Faker consistently got his leads, played his lane out well. And then in the semifinals was like a bomb Silas. So if we're just talking about where Korea is right now, you guys just have to recognize, man, you guys ain't dominating anymore. You're like one of us. You're literally just Europe and LPL, the top 3.